everyone. My name is Larry Backer. I'm here with Ariana Backer. Welcome to another segment of Parallel Barkings where we talk about things. I guess we talk about
We
things,
talk about things, yes.
all kinds of things today. And that was that stumble was a perfect segue into today's talk, which is how to make humans better. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, and we're going to be talking about something that we all would have loved to have gotten our hands on in
Oh
high
man,
school.
would have been
I remember
fabulous.
this. Oh my God, it would have
College,
been, right,
all
but
of
then
the
it would have
above.
been good. So what we're talking about is a story that came out, I guess, a couple of days ago, and this is out of Sweden. I guess it's cold up there, and there's nothing else. Well, no, you can ski and you can hike, but
Yeah, you can
apparently
say the same
not
thing
this
about
person.
Seattle. The reason why everybody
Yeah,
spends
but
time with their
it's hot
computer
there now.
is
But
because
anyway, so researchers had built an AI, an artificial intelligence bot, and they directed the AI bot into, of course, artificial intelligence. It's a self-learning machine. They directed it, they instructed it to write a scientific paper, complete with footnotes, to write a scientific paper. And because it's humans who are doing this, what's the first theme you give an artificial intelligence bot as a writing assignment? The humans wanted the AI to write about itself. And in a sense, what it shows you is that no matter how detached humans get and they build these big things, they program narcissism even into our most neutral and mechanical devices. But we'll get there in a
it
minute.
was
So,
basically just born. It has to know about itself. Don't even give me that look.
oh God, that's funny. But anyway, so the AI bot writes a scientific paper on itself, heavily footnoted. In high school, frankly, I would have been to NACS. I would have hated writing about myself with footnotes. That
You
would have
didn't
only
even
gotten me
tell
in
the direct. It
trouble.
was a simple directive that
And then the researcher who was involved in this, after doing a kind of peer review of the article, it was an academic thesis in 500 words with footnotes. It's a small one. Uh, the researcher then judged the product to be fairly good, and then wondered whether the whole research product uh, and the paper would be worthy of being published in a peer-reviewed academic journal. And that's where we sort of the middle part of the story. We'll talk about all of this aspects, and then the question is, well, can you publish this? Which is I guess the 21st century version of the question: if 500 monkeys sat at a typewriter and eventually typed out something like King Lear, a Shakespearean play, would that be something that one could copyright, publish, and then put out, I guess, on Broadway now? Is this a thing, or is writing and research and the like limited to human beings? However, we tend to define them, and we have defined them in different ways, right? So consciousness, selfhood, self-learning machines, and then the nightmare. Oh my God, the Matrix has come, except I still don't feel a plug in the back of my neck, so it's all good. So what do you think of this, Ariana? You're
I
asking the
love it.
bot?
I love it. I mean, I love.
Shouldn't you ask your bot though what your bot thinks, so that you'll have a more informed response?
No, it was so funny because I was having an argument about this the other day about because we were watching the show. Oh, what is? Oh, gosh, I can't even remember the show. Anyway, they have it's that new Seth MacFarlane show in space.
All right, very good.
Anyway, they have artificial intelligence. You know, and they walk around and um people were arguing about whether or not it would matter if they were infused with feelings, emotions, um if we killed them or not, or controlled them, and if that would make a difference
Oh
if
my
they had
God, that's
feelings or not.
every other sci-fi movie.
Well, yeah, no. But the argument was, well, it's not really human feelings because they're robot feelings because we gave them the feelings.
Ooh, that's like saying it's not really human feelings, it's dog feelings. So go ahead and be cruel to your dog.
Right. It doesn't make sense, right? So
Well,
I mean, I think
it doesn't. What, it makes sense to the extent what you're doing is putting forward the principle that humans are humans and non-humans are not
are
humans.
not human,
And
so it doesn't matter, right?
no,
So
no, no, no,
anything that
but
are not
nothing else,
humans.
but no, but that's the thing. Nothing else necessarily follows from the knowledge that you are not a dog or that you are not a self-learning machine.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a thing.
Right.
Everything else are choices. Everything else are choices. And the choices that we have created are choices that are based on the way in which we center and privilege ourselves, having become aware of ourselves. And in the process, not only do we elevate ourselves up, but we cram everything else down.
But then when we create, okay, algorithms like the GPT-3, and then these algorithms learn eventually, and then they can make choices, is that then free will?
Well, only if they go back behind the church and smoke cigarettes and drink beer, I guess. And complain about their creators. Well, that's somewhat different, right? So the difference between a human and a dog is that no matter how much we try and how much we mock this, human beings, no matter how hard they try, can never reproduce dogs. Well, I mean, they can now with genetic.
Yeah, come on.
In the traditional way. 21st century make these analogies harder, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, we are creating as opposed to describing and building categorical differences between things in our known space. So this time we're adding something new in this space. And even with genetics, what we're trying to do is mimic the creation of something we've already seen. AI is something new. We're creating a different kind of thing. And I guess the closest we can get to is the way in which we create viruses. For example, if we want to unleash a pandemic, or oh no, I know we don't do things like that. But beyond creating things like that, this becomes weird, and everything else associated with it then problematizes everything that comes from the moment after we realize that is not us, right? And that's ultimately really the problem here, because now having done this, what do we do with it? We know what we've done with it in the past when we weren't, quote unquote, responsible for the creation of another thing that may or may not have sentience, because bacteria don't have sentience, I guess, or that are different. But what do we do with this thing, right? That is a machine. And of course, now if you were old enough, you'd go, oh my God, we've had this problem before. This is Star Trek, The Next Generation, with a little robot person. What was his name? Not Eeyore. That's a different thing.
Oh, wow.
Data. With data, right? So
those aren't even close. Not even close. One is from Winnie the Pooh.
Okay. Sorry. Eeyore, data. What's the difference?
Okay, go on.
And that's actually the point. And so here the question is, so what do we do with this? And we know the reflex is, oh, different, less inferior, and therefore not to be accorded anything like the privileges and responsibilities that we accord ourselves, to even treat it as a thing.
Well, I mean, this became a huge topic. I mean, and this was in the article about this GPT-3 algorithm because of after a Google engineer claimed that
Google engineer, isn't it?
Claimed that a conversational AI technology called Lambda became sentient and had even asked to hire an attorney for itself.
Wasn't he fired for his trouble?
I don't know.
I mean, I think he came. I think there was some scandal or something that may or may not have had anything to do with this.
Either way, this is something that's going to be happening.
Right. Or you can have an AI program that's designed to nag you.
It hasn't. Yes. That.
Oh no, we have one of those. That's Alicia, whatever it's called, Alexa.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can program it to nag you into getting up, doing your exercise.
Okay. Well, it hasn't advanced to the point of resembling humans, but it will get there, I'm sure.
Some humans, because some humans I know never nag. All right, but let's shift this for a second, because I mean the area is really rich, but let's shift this for a second. So in this case, we've got the AI that became not sentient, but let's just say it's a self-learning program that was self-learning enough to be able to take a particular direction, that is to write about itself, to become aware of itself in a very crude way.
And answer questions about.
And answer questions and write an article.
Yes.
Apparently a fairly good one. And then the question as posed in the article is, and this is from the researcher, academic publishing may have to accommodate a feature of AI-driven manuscripts, and the value of a human researcher's publication records may change if something non-sentient can take credit for some of the work. And so we're having a very human discussion about this. Credit for work, insertions into prestige markets for researchers, jobs, right? And so if you look at it through that lens, we have all of these moral, ethical, and legal problems. But if you don't look at it from the lens of the human, right, then it becomes very different, right? We worry about this because we believe that these kind of products are property. We believe that these kinds of products are property that have values to humans in a particularly human way, right? Especially in the maintenance and operations of human social systems. But now you have a non-human that can also be engaged in this area. Now what happens? The whole systemic apple cart is overturned. But now like I said, let's switch the lens. What if the lens is not a means by which human hierarchies and prestige markets are maintained, but instead the lens is one of the production of knowledge? Should it matter whether it's a chimpanzee, a human, or
and see, that's where I wanted to go with
that
it.
Produces knowledge?
Wouldn't it be amazing?
Judging is the knowledge.
Yeah, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just get these algorithms to find the best resources or the best sources of information, and then
get different sources that can then be judged and valued.
Yes,
whatever value.
Yes, and collaborate. And I mean, this seems like a great opportunity. Why are we all getting our panties in a bunch about the credit? Like, deal with it.
Because this is, and that's why I love this article and this whole storyline, is that what it exposes is not necessarily whether AI is good or bad, or whether it produces good or bad knowledge, but the way in which we tend to project the human into everything.
Always.
We don't have beer. We have Bambi and Bambi's mom. We don't have rocks. We have the rock in the never-ending story that comes alive.
Yeah.
We don't have trees. We have ants, right? We don't have machines. They're all humanized. Sometimes that's good, because that's the only way that we are in our own imperfection. That may be the only way that we can afford them some protection against us, right? But at the same time, it comes at a price, because you're humanizing something that is inherently non-human, that is quite happy, whether it's sentient or not sentient, whether it's silicone-based or metals-based or carbon-based, right? It's quite happy, and I'm not using that term in an emotional way, quite happy doing whatever it is it's doing for whatever reason or no reason at all that it does it. It does it to do it. And yet it acquires meaning and value to us only as and to the extent we humanize it, number one. And number two, having humanized it, we then incorporate it into the hierarchical systemic world and social collectives of the human, so that in fact nothing exists outside of humanity, which is a problem for religious people who wind up doing the same thing. And at this point, of course, God is laughing, to the extent that God may or may not have a sense of humor, and to the extent that I use the term God loosely to reference whatever thing that is outside
whatever
of
spiritual thing
that may have a superior ability at self-actualization.
Oh, yes, there you go.
All right, so that becomes really interesting. On the other hand, I worry, because what does this mean if a machine can get tenure?
There you go.
Doesn't mean you can't turn it off. What happens if they're rude to the university president, or worse, their department head?
Fabulous, because you can't, like, their feelings. I mean,
what if they're snarky to the editor of the journal into which they've written a well footnoted article about themselves?
Well, they can obviously get themselves an attorney, like Lambda requested for itself.
A human attorney?
Hey, could be, or they could get an AI attorney. This is fabulous. I think we are going to have to rethink the way we view academic research, papers.
Well, for non-academic, for non-humans, yeah, but not for humans. But that's really the point. Why is it that you have to, we're like the blob here that eats everything in its path. Why is it that you have to incorporate it into your human sensibilities, when the whole point of this thing is quite happy churning out whatever knowledge it has, and then we can, to the extent we find it useful, use it?
Absolutely. I just think that the landscape is going to change, like, similar to the way that it changed for music production.
And oh my God, that's right. The story of the last century. This is another podcast. And some of the finest philosophical minds in the West actually worried about this all the way through the 1990s. And that is the effect and essence of mechanical reproduction of art, music, sculpture, paintings, and the like. And in a sense, what we're doing is carrying that conversation over. Is it art if it's mechanically reproduced? If you have a piano that is the keys of which are being moved by a computer-driven program that recorded a master having played it, is that being played? Is that the production of art? Is that something else? And when you have a machine like this doing it as well, because in a sense, you can argue that this thing may be self-aware, and maybe learning by itself, but it got its genetics are those of its programmers.
Yeah.
The way that you are the product of the union of the sperm and egg of your mom and dad.
By a human. Yeah, the code was written.
Right. And so maybe they are human after all.
That's a great closing sentence, I should say, unless you have something else to add.
Woof woof. Woof woof.
Bark bark. I think that settles it.
Well, we'll have to ask the AI program.
We will. Next time we'll bring it as a guest. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.